The month does not begin with ambition. It begins with damage control. A glowing monitor in a dark room. The stale smell of old coffee. The blue-white light of Tokyo candles crawling across the screen while the rest of the building is asleep. Your broker balance is not catastrophic. That would almost be easier. Catastrophe is clear. Catastrophe gives you a story. What you have is worse. You have enough left to believe, enough capital to open the platform again, enough memory to remember the month you almost held together, enough arrogance to think this time the market will finally reward precision instead of punishing impulse. Outsiders think trading is about making money. They imagine speed, independence, maybe a beach, maybe a laptop, maybe freedom. They do not see the real target, one clean month, not a viral payout screenshot, not a lottery trade on non-farm payrolls, not some manic 15-minute run where you feel chosen by the machine. Just 1 month without self-sabotage. 1 month where the losses are planned, the wins are measured, and the account curve does not look like a confession. That is the holy thing, and almost nobody gets there clean. Stage 1. Entry. The month of promise at the first level. Everything feels fixable. A new month opens, and with it comes the oldest illusion in trading. Reset. Fresh journal. Fresh spreadsheet. Clean equity curve with nothing on it yet. No red stains. No revenge trades. No midnight entries taken because a candle looked strong. You tell yourself the same oath men have whispered to themselves in every high-pressure room where money and ego collide. This month, you will be surgical. You lower your risk. 1% becomes 0.5%. Half becomes a quarter on uncertain days. You mark the calendar with red circles around CPI, FAMC, NFP, rate decisions, central bank speeches. The moments when an entire market can become a lie in under 3 seconds. You promise not to trade them blindly. You promise to wait for structure. You promise to trade only a plus setups. You promise not to touch pairs you do not understand just because they are moving. At this stage, what changes is not your skill. It is your language. You stop talking about getting rich and start talking about preserving bullets. You stop saying, I think it'll go up, and start saying, if price returns to discount, if dollar liquidity holds, if London delivers displacement, then maybe. The vocabulary gets more precise. The dreams get smaller. That is how seriousness enters. What most people misunderstand about this level is that restraint feels easy before temptation arrives. Discipline in a flat market is theater. Risk management on a Sunday night is poetry. Anybody can be wise when the chart is closed. The hidden cost appears when Monday opens, because the first sacrifice of a clean month is stimulation. You start ignoring the noisy pairs. You sit through dead sessions. You watch USD do almost nothing for 2 hours and force yourself not to manufacture opportunity from boredom. You become the kind of person who can stare at a 1-minute chart and do absolutely nothing. It sounds like growth. It feels like withdrawal. Stage 2. Survival. Learning not to bleed. Then the market tests whether your new rules are beliefs or decorations. A setup forms at London Open. Price runs stops above an Asian high, sweeps liquidity, then rejects. You enter with the plan already written. Stop placed where it belongs, not where it is emotionally comfortable. Position sized small enough that the loss is survivable, not painless. Survivable. That distinction becomes your religion. At this level, the first real skill appears, taking clean losses without trying to get your dignity back. A stop out lands, you watch the red number print, maybe minus 0.5 R, maybe 1 full R if the setup was perfect. Your chest tightens anyway. You still feel the primitive insult of being wrong, but this time, you do not double the next position. You do not widen the stop after entry because the market is hunting you. You do not jump into the next candle to prove you still belong here. You log the loss. And that sounds small until you understand what that act really is. Because most traders do not blow up from ignorance. They blow up from refusal. Refusal to accept a small wound. Refusal to look weak. Refusal to let the day end red. The market does not need you to be stupid. It only needs you to be offended. That is what most people misunderstand about survival. They think the early stage is about learning entries. It isn't. It is about learning how not to turn a paper cut into arterial damage. The hidden cost is psychological monotony. You take small losses with grace. You take modest wins with restraint, and the account barely moves. The curve creeps upward in increments too small to satisfy the version of you who came here for transformation. No soundtrack, no applause. Just a journal, filling with screenshots and notes like a field report from a war. Nobody knows you're fighting. You begin to understand something dangerous. A clean month is not built on brilliance. It is built on emotional starvation. Stage 3. Structure. When the routine owns you by the second week, the game changes. The market has stopped being random scenery and become a timetable. You wake before major sessions not because you are inspired, but because you are conditioned. London Open means one kind of violence. New York overlap means another. Asian session means drift, compression, fake peace. You learn the difference between movement and meaningful movement. You learn that a candle can travel 40 pips and still say nothing. Now your edge is no longer just entry selection. It is context. You know when spreads widen. You know rollover can distort price around 5 p.m., New York. You know which pairs behave like disciplined soldiers and which ones move like drunks with knives. You know that some days are designed to bait retail impatience into the middle of nowhere. So you wait for the right hour, the right level, the right relationship between risk and structure. What changes at this level is responsibility. Not to other people, to the process. Your job is no longer to predict. Your job is to protect consistency from your own moods. That means showing up on days when nothing is there. That means refusing mediocre trades when you're down on the week and refusing euphoric oversizing when you're up. You start treating the trading plan like an operating manual for a machine that can kill its operator if used emotionally. Most people misunderstand this stage because it looks boring from the outside. It looks like less action, fewer trades, more missed moves, more blank space between opportunities. They think you are becoming timid. In truth, you are becoming expensive. Your attention can no longer be wasted on every twitch in the market. You are filtering, excluding, narrowing. The chart is the same. You are not, but the hidden cost is time itself. Your life begins to bend around session clocks. Meals get delayed. Sleep gets segmented. Friendships become harder to explain. You are physically present in rooms you do not fully inhabit because some part of your mind is still with the dollar index, still with yields, still with the possibility that tomorrow's CPI print could invalidate the entire week's structure in under a minute. You wanted autonomy. Instead, you built a private institution with stricter hours than any office. Stage 4, precision. The first clean streak, then it happens. Not the $1 million run, not the fantasy, something rarer. A clean week, 4 trades, maybe 5, 1 scratched, 1 stopped, 3 executed exactly as planned. The entries are patient. The exits are not greedy. The losses are ordinary. The wins are not dramatic, but they are controlled, repeatable, explainable. The account climbs, not vertically, credibly. This is the most dangerous stage so far, because now the market gives you a taste of order. And once you feel that, once you feel a week where your behavior and your results actually match, a new form of pressure appears. It is no longer the pressure of losing. It is the pressure of preserving the purity of the streak. Every trade after that is contaminated by awareness. You are no longer just trading the setup. You are defending the story. That story whispers to you in subtle ways. You're locked in now, maybe size up a little. Maybe this is the month. Maybe you've finally become who you were trying to become. This is what most people misunderstand about competence. They think success reduces emotional noise. Often it amplifies it. A losing trader is chaotic. A winning trader can become superstitious. Suddenly you care too much about keeping the chart clean, the journal clean, the month aesthetically beautiful. You stop wanting profit, you start wanting symmetry. That is when fragility enters. The hidden cost of precision is that you begin to fear contamination more than loss. You hesitate on valid setups because you do not want to ruin the streak. Or worse, you force pristine, looking trades that fit the story better than they fit the market. You become loyal to the month you want, not the price in front of you, and the market is merciless with people who trade narrative over evidence. One bad click can still drag you back down to earth. One impulsive position at the wrong hour can turn all that clean geometry into another human-shaped mess. Stage 5. Compression. The middle of the month, mid-month is where the real professionals separate from the performers. The account is green now, not wildly, respectably, a few percentage points. Enough that the month can still be destroyed by stupidity, but also enough that you can feel the weight of what must not be lost. The challenge changes again. In the beginning, you were trying to make money. Now you are trying not to give it back. That sounds easier. It isn't. At this level, the skill is omission. The cleanest decision is often no decision. A pair runs without your setup? Leave it. A news candle spikes 50 pips and social media starts screaming? Leave it. New York fades London's move, and you miss the first entry? Leave it. You discover that a large part of high-level trading is the ability to watch opportunity pass by without reaching for it, like a drowning man. Most people misunderstand the middle of the month because they think consistency means confidence. Sometimes consistency means suspicion. You stop asking, "How much can I make?" and start asking, "What kind of trap usually appears when I'm up this much?" You know your own patterns now. You know that after 3 disciplined wins, there is often one stupid trade wearing the disguise of deserved aggression. You know your tendency to get looser after a strong Tuesday. You know your appetite for overtrading after a skipped setup. So the battle narrows. Not trader versus market, trader versus pattern memory. The hidden cost here is invisible to everyone else. Your best work produces almost nothing visible. No heroics, no drama, just trades not taken, buttons not pressed, hours in which you are fully alert and externally motionless. It feels less like conquest and more like guarding a fragile flame in a room full of drafts. You begin to understand why so many traders fail after going green. They do not lose to volatility. They lose to possession. The money starts to feel like theirs before the month is closed. And once unrealized discipline becomes imagined ownership, the hand gets heavier on the mouse. Stage 6. Exposure. The Newsday test, every clean month eventually meets its trial. For you, it comes on a calendar marked morning. Maybe CPI, maybe a central bank rate decision, maybe payrolls. It doesn't matter. The point is the same. Liquidity thins, spreads widen. The market becomes a loaded hallway before the lights come on. Everyone knows the release time. Everyone thinks they have a plan. Most plans are just better dressed impulses. At this stage, the pressure is no longer technical, it is existential. If you trade the release and win, the month gets a powerful shove toward legitimacy. If you trade it badly, 3 disciplined weeks can disappear in 90 seconds. And the cruelest part is that even being right on direction may not save you. Price can spike down, fill you, rip through your stop, then travel exactly where you thought it would go after you are already dead. Forex is full of correct ideas buried under incorrect timing. What changes at this level is respect for uncertainty. Not fear, respect. You sit there listening to the room, a faint hum from the machine, maybe rain against the window, the release clock approaching 0, your pulse loud enough to feel in your fingers. And you understand that mastery here may mean staying flat while less disciplined traders volunteer themselves to the wood chipper. Most people misunderstand Newsdays because they confuse courage with participation. Sometimes the highest level of control is abstinence. Sometimes the clean month is protected, not by a brilliant trade, but by an empty blotter. But there is a hidden cost to that too. If you stand aside and the move unfolds cleanly, you feel the ache of untouched money. A giant candle prints, social feeds fill with victory laps. Everyone becomes a macro genius after the fact. And there you are, still green, still disciplined, still responsible, and quietly tortured by the sense that safety made you irrelevant. This is where vanity tries to re-enter through the back door. Not through greed, through comparison. And comparison has destroyed more consistent traders than bad analysis ever did. Stage 7, the final week. When the month starts looking back now, the finish line is visible, and that makes you dangerous. 22 days in, maybe 23, a few sessions left. The account is holding. The journal looks clean enough to screenshot. The discipline has not been perfect, but it has been real. The month is almost alive. That is when you make the worst discovery of all. The closer you get, the harder it becomes to stay the person who got you there. Because now every trade is heavy with meaning. A small loss feels larger because it happens so close to completion. A valid setup feels suspicious because it threatens the beauty of the curve. You start checking the p-file too often, start doing arithmetic you should never do mid-process. If this week closes like this, then maybe the payout, maybe the scale-up, maybe the proof, maybe the redemption. That is the final exam. Trading while future fantasies are trying to write over present information. At this level, the skill is emotional anonymity. You must become forgettable to yourself again. No grand ending, no cinematic final trade, no dramatic all-in move to seal the month. Just the same risk model, the same patience, the same ugly acceptance that a clean month is completed the same way it started, one ordinary decision at a time. Most people misunderstand the final stage because they think the top rank feels triumphant. It does not. It feels thin, quiet, like carrying glass across a concrete floor. The hidden cost is identity distortion. By now, you have invested so much symbolism into this month that success starts to feel like moral proof. If you close green, you were disciplined, serious, worthy. If you slip at the end, maybe you were still the same impulsive person all along, just temporarily disguised by favorable conditions. That is why the final week is so brutal. It does not just test your method, it tests what you believe the result says about you. And markets are terrible places to seek verdicts on human value. Stage 8, the close. What one clean month really buys, then one day the final candle settles. Not with thunder, not with revelation, just another close. New York winds down. The spreads normalize, then widen again into the dead hour. The charts keep moving because they do not know what this month meant to you. You export the statement, update the spreadsheet, date the journal, the numbers are there. The damage was limited. The wins were real. The rules held more often than they broke. It is, by every serious definition, a clean month. And for a few seconds, maybe a full minute if you are lucky, there is peace. Not joy, peace. A silence where the account is no longer arguing with your habits. A silence where your screenshots line up with your intentions. A silence where you can look at the month and say, that was not luck alone, not impulse, not delusion dressed up as talent. That was process. But the last truth arrives quietly. Owen clean month does not free you. It indicts you. Because now, you know it can be done. Now, you can no longer hide behind the myth that consistency is impossible, that the market is only chaos, that discipline is some elite genetic inheritance you were never given. You have seen the mechanism. You have seen what a cleaner version of yourself looks like under pressure. And you have also seen the cost, the boredom, the missed moves, the reduced risk, the swallowed ego, the sessions watched in silence, the friends you texted back late, the sleep cut around news releases, the ordinary days where you felt nothing and clicked nothing and still had to call it work. That is what the month bought. Not just profit evidence. Evidence that trading, at its highest functional level, is not a performance of intelligence. It is a long act of self-denial conducted under fluorescent numbers and moving candles. It is not about being the boldest person in the room. It is about becoming the least reactive, not the loudest, the cleanest, not immune to fear, just no longer obedient to it. And that is why so few people last here, because deep down, many do not want one clean month. They want the feeling of being rescued. The market does not rescue anyone. It only exposes what your hands do under pressure, so the platform stays open. Another month waits on the other side of midnight. Another calendar. Another sequence of traps, dressed as opportunity. Another chance to prove that the version of you who existed this month was real and not a temporary visitor. You lean back. The room is still dark. The coffee is cold. Price is still ticking somewhere on a pair you are not touching. This is the part nobody posts. Not the payout. Not the green week. Not the winning trade with the elegant entry and the righteous caption. This part. The quiet after restraint. The strange grief of finding out that control works and knowing exactly what it costs to keep it. Because tomorrow, the market opens again. And one clean month, once you've had it, is no longer a dream. It's a standard. A harsher one. And in this world, standards are heavier than losses. So you close the journal, save the statement, kill the light. And somewhere in the dark, Before sleep takes you, the next month is already asking the same question the market always asks men who think they've changed. Can you do it again? Or were you only clean once?